you. Good morning, everyone. You all look so amazingly beautiful, and do you? Thank you. I told someone the other day, and this is a true story, I've been thinking of this day since September when I thought, I want everybody to wear a hat someday and dress up, so thank you. Easter was a good excuse for it, correct? Doug, I'm going to talk for a little bit, so you can just... I love you. Okay, let's see, where are we at? My name is Reverend Deborah Bennett, and it is a delight to be with you this morning and to be the minister here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. If you are joining us for the first time, a special welcome to you, and fear not, we do not always wear hats on a Sunday morning, but you are always welcome if you would like. If you are joining us online, a special welcome to you. Hopefully you too are a little dressed up this morning in your Sunday best. But whatever clothing you may have on and whomever you are all welcome here this morning and every day in this Unitarian Universalist home. And indeed, it is a holy time of the year for so many faiths. We honor our Muslim friends who are in the middle of the month of Ramadan as we speak. Jewish people who are celebrating Passover this week. If you missed our friend Rabbi Josh last week, I'm going to encourage you to go to our YouTube page or our website to hear his inspiring Passover story that he gifted us with. Our pagan friends have recently celebrated Ostara and the coming of spring. A few days ago, some Hindus celebrated the monkey god Hanuman, who is worshipped as a deity for his ability to gain victory over evil and provide protection. Theravadan Buddhists recently celebrated a new year, marking Buddha's birth, death, and enlightenment, and the start of the rainy season. We don't want to celebrate that one, the rainy part. It's Easter, of course, and this is the day the Christians all around the world celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, and we're going to talk about that a little later. And today, people of many faiths from around the world join together in celebrating the holy deity, Hairius Happiest. That's right, the Easter Bunny. There's this Family Circus comic strip, maybe you saw it, it was published a couple years ago. It's when in the morning the kids are discovering their Easter basket and they're all excited and they're enjoying the contents of their Easter basket, and one of the little kids said, "Who colored all these eggs?" And one of the other kids said, "The Easter Bunny." And one of the kids said, "Well, who gave us the jelly beans?" And one of the other kids said, "The Easter Bunny." "Who gave us the chocolate rabbit?" "The Easter Bunny." For those children, nothing was impossible, and the parents looked on with delight, watching them be in delight. That is, until they went to church a little later. There they heard the preacher tell the story of Jesus, and he got to that part when he said, "They came to the tomb and saw the stone had been rolled back." And in a hushed voice, the preacher asked, "Who could have done this?" Oh, did you read my script? To which the Family Circus children quickly cried out in unison, "Easter Bunny." So there you have it. All religions do collide. So later we may have a visit from the Easter Bunny, I hear, but first we are going to talk about resurrection. And this morning I'd like to get us started with our dear friend and very new worship assistant, Douglas Futch, who is sporting a very nice hat. Would you light our chalice for us this morning? Oops, let's see. Let's give Douglas the... Okay,
blue.
We got it.
There we go.
There we go.
As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens each new day to form a yellow daffodil, let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space.
Thank you, Douglas. And now, in the spirit of beloved community, I'm going to invite you to take a moment and greet your neighbors. Those of you in the sanctuary, please feel free to move around and say hi to someone, maybe someone new you have not met yet. Those of you online, feel free to unmute or type in the chat to say hello. Embarrass myself and ask me your name again. Larry. We haven't seen you in a little while. If you are standing, I invite you to stay standing. If not, please rise in body or spirit. Let's sing our opening hymn. It's a beautiful one this morning. It is number 38 in the gray hymnal. If you prefer to hold a hymnal, Morning Has Broken.
Morning, y'all. Unitarian Universalism is a faith often referred to as one of deeds, not creeds. It's how we show up in the world and how we live our faith. One way we seek to do that is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. Each Sunday, we collect financial contributions that are shared equally with our partner organization. This month, we share our basket with the Chattahoochee River Keepers. Their calling is to ensure there's enough clean water in the Chattahoochee River now and for future generations. They do this in 3 ways. First, by teaching students, homeowners, businesses, and policymakers the importance of clean, plentiful water. Second, they conduct research, patrol the river, collect and monitor data, review permits, and hold polluters accountable. Third, they advocate for water protection legislation and promote sustainable water plans and policies. We encourage each of you to support this vital work. Please offer a donation as you are able or take one of the cards that describes the ways to give electronically. Ways to give are also posted in the chat. And also there's a poster out in the lobby that's really cool. You should go look at that. All donations, unless otherwise specified, are shared equally with Emerson and our partner organization. Also, if there are some, please feel free to enjoy a lollipop just for fun. Happy Easter, y'all.
Thank you all for your generosity to our partner organizations. Now's the time where we take a moment to share our joys, sorrows, and concerns with each other. I'm going to invite Susan Allman, our pastoral care associate, to light our candles for us. Every Sunday, this table is available to you, so if you'd like to light a candle ahead of service for someone you're holding in your heart, please feel free to do that. We begin always by lighting the 3 large candles to hold our collective joys, sorrows, and concerns, and to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of people. We also have this lovely yellow book where you can express a joy, sorrow, concern that you would like us to share with our Emerson family, and I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to invite Susan first to light that 1 large candle. This is a candle of care for Reverend Glenda Gray. Dr. Reverend Glenda Gray was Emerson's first settled minister. She died peacefully in her home in Albuquerque, New Mexico back in December. She's survived by her cat, Chauncey, and nieces and nephews. She served our Emerson congregation from 1999 to 2009 when she retired. There are photos of her in our fellowship hall if you'd like to take a moment with those after the service. Thank you. And I have quite a few joys to share with you this morning. So the Yuga ladies share this. Joy, what a wonderful time at Waldo's Coffee House last night. Thanks to all who attended and all who performed. And indeed was lovely. It was. We hope to hear you again soon, Yuga ladies. Patricia, I just asked you how to pronounce your daughter's name, and now it slipped from my mind, so I'm going to may ask you again. But we want to celebrate Patricia Johnson's beloved daughter, Zenaida. Oh, thank you. Everyone knew but me. Zenaida, happy birthday. It is your 30th birthday, and we celebrate you. Patricia says, my extraordinary firstborn who made me a mother. Many, many thanks to Ginger for creating her special keepsake quilt. It's beautiful. Sarah Raven shares with us, my partner Kelly and I got engaged this past weekend. Congratulations. So excited to keep building a loving life and home together. And why, look, there is a joy from Reverend Deborah. Are you ready? It is with a great joy that I share that my beloved daughter and son-in-law are now expected parents. That means I get to be a grandma. I am taking suggestions for grandma names, so you can just whisper those to me. So thank you all for holding each other's joys, sorrows, and concerns. I know there may be some that you did not get a chance to write or express. So if there is somebody you are holding, especially in your heart today, that you would like to say their name out loud, just send them some extra care, please do that now. Say the name of Ronnie and Shadat. Knowing that all of our loving care and intention does go across the airwaves and the space waves so that we can truly connect with each other at any time. And let us send our prayers of loving kindness to all by reciting the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. Please repeat the words after me. They are also in your order of service. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. And may we all be at peace. Blessed be. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Jeffrey, do you have a story for us? Ooh, you have your basket this morning. Ooh, what's in the basket? Eggs.
So yes,
Put
we've
all
got
your
a
eggs in
story,
one
and it's all about eggs. It's a good Easter story, so come on down for an Easter story. Everybody's looking really good in your Easter outfits. So yeah, I've got all kinds of pretty eggs here, and if you see right in the middle, I've got a purple one, and it's kind of speckly. It's okay. It's all right. I tried to make it because this story today is called The Perfect Purple Egg.
Ooh.
So every egg has the potential for life. Some eggs hatch and become chickens, while lots and lots of eggs become breakfast, and many more become Easter eggs. So this story is about the Morgan family. The Morgan family had 5 members: Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Morgan, Yvonne, Carl, and Amy. They had a dog named Patches, and they lived in a house with a big backyard with a pond and a bunch of flowers, and it was really a pretty, really nice yard. One Easter, Yvonne and her little brother Carl and little sister Amy were dyeing Easter eggs. Amy and Carl were often impatient and wanted to lift their eggs out of the dye too soon to see what they looked like. Yvonne was older and knew that if she left her egg in the purple dye without checking, it would be perfect. Her 2 younger siblings colored most of the eggs since they moved really quickly. They kind of went through it just like, oh, that's good enough. "Aren't you done with the purple yet?" Carl said, getting impatient. "I want to put my green one in there to see what color it'll turn." "Well, I'm going to do a half and half, yellow and purple," Amy said, holding a half yellow colored egg in her egg dipper that she had been careful not to let the other end go into. "Almost done," Yvonne said, looking at the time. "Yep, right about now," she said as she carefully lowered a bent little egg holder into the purple dye, and they all looked at the perfect purple egg that she gently lifted out. It was perfect.
Can we see it?
Oh, this is my not-so-perfect purple egg.
I'm
It's- Yvonne's was much nicer than mine. "Whoa," Amy and Carl said at the same time. The egg was the most perfect purple Easter egg they had ever seen. In the refrigerator that night, the eggs talked excitedly about being in the Easter egg hunt. They loved being hunted for, coveted, collected, but mostly Easter eggs love being a part of the Easter celebration. It is the greatest joy that any Easter egg ever has. The next morning, Mrs. Morgan opened the door of the refrigerator to get some orange juice, and the light came on for a minute. The purple egg hadn't noticed the day before how all the other eggs weren't quite as pretty as she was. Where her color was bright and intense, all of them looked kind of faded and a little spotty and light. The purple and yellow egg was nice, but Amy had clearly gotten impatient with the purple half, and it was only half as bright as the perfect purple egg was. She stopped speaking to the other eggs as soon as she realized how much better she looked than the rest of them. They didn't really notice at first, since they were all so excited about being in the hunt. She sat there thinking, "Oh, I just hope a truly deserving child finds me, a child who will really appreciate how perfectly purple I am. And I hope they don't hide me too near any of those pale, sloppy, spotty eggs." She shuddered a little at the thought of being so close to them. The egg crate they were in already was too close for her taste. When the carton was taken from the refrigerator and opened, Carl's greenish-purple egg said, "Oh, gosh, you sure are pretty," to the purple egg. The purple egg said nothing. as she was too busy imagining that perfect child that might find her. "He's right, you know. You really are the prettiest for sure," Amy's half-yellow, purple, and half-yellow egg said to her. But again, the purple egg said nothing. Now she was imagining that perfect spot she'd be hidden in for the Easter egg hunt. The other eggs wondered why she didn't respond to them, and they were a little hurt. The time came when Mr. and Mrs. Morgan took the eggs and went outside to hide them. It was early in the morning and the sun was coming up, so they could just barely see where they were hiding eggs. "Oh, no, don't hide me there," thought the purple egg. "It's way too easy," when they were going to the side of the shed and put her in the spot. But they didn't. "Oh, no, don't hide me there," she thought again when they were going to put an egg among 3 perfect patches of daffodils. "That's far too obvious." But again, they didn't. They didn't put her anywhere, and she was the last egg to be hidden. "Gosh, this egg is pretty," said Mrs. Morgan. "Where should we hide it? I think it's the prettiest one." "Wow, it sure is," said Mr. Morgan. "But it's getting late. The kids will be waking up and ready for the hunt. Just pick someplace." "Pick someplace?" the perfect purple egg thought, horrified. "Oh, okay," her mother, Mrs. Morgan said, as she put the egg on top of a little hill above the pond. But as she turned to go back inside, the heel of her shoe tapped the egg, and it began to roll. Yes, it rolled all the way down the hill and stopped just before going into the pond by a small pile of leaves. "Oh dear," thought the purple egg. "Who'll find me way down here? But I'm so pretty. I'm sure that girl, Yvonne, will certainly remember me and come and find me down here." She listened to the sounds of laughter and activity from just above her, but she couldn't see anything because she was so far down. She heard these shouts of, "Oh, here's my blue one. Oh, I found my green one. Oh, there's the orange one." And they were laughing and screaming and running around and having a great time. And then finally, she said to herself, she kept on remaining sure, though, that somebody would come and find her. But finally, she heard their parents saying, "Okay, I think we found them all. Now let's go inside and see what's in those Easter baskets. Carl, can you let Patches outside now that we found all the eggs?" The happy family went back inside and feasted on chocolate bunnies, soft marshmallow chicks, and brightly colored jelly beans. Oh, and the perfect purple egg was found after all. Not by Yvonne, not by Amy, and not by Carl, but by Patches. So she was part of his Easter celebration, and that is the greatest joy an Easter egg can ever have. All right. Shall we sing our song of dedication?
Thank you, Jeffrey. That was lovely. Invite us into this time of centering. We can close our eyes if you like. Perhaps Easter eggs will dance in your head in all the many colors. And if you're more comfortable keeping your eyes open, that's okay too. This is just a time that we take every Sunday to just take a few breaths together, to just take a moment and pause. So much of our world is filled with things to do, things to look at, things to figure out. Sometimes we just need time. Sometimes we want to just be in that moment in time before the next thing comes. The past is behind us. There's nothing more we need or can do in this moment. And let us savor this edge of time in the presence right now. They say all miracles happen here. In fact, all of life happens right here. Sometimes we miss it by looking back or miss it by being anxious about what's to come. So take this moment on the edge of time and enjoy. As you're ready, feel free to stay in meditation during the anthem or open your eyes. That's beautiful. You're doing a sermon on what? Their head tilted as if they had just heard a curious, high-pitched sound. The resurrection, I repeated. I'm going to talk about the resurrection of Jesus? That resurrection? Why, yes, I was planning on it, on mentioning it. In a UU congregation? I nodded. My confidence was now taking a bit of a hit. Well, okay then, they said out loud with their face saying, good luck with that then. So here we are. And it is true that speaking of the resurrection of Jesus is not usually the go-to for an Easter morning sermon in many Unitarian Universalist congregations. We are a people who collectively tend to view Jesus as a person, not a uniquely risen divine being, and so we tend to bunny hop right over that story that proclaims otherwise. Instead, the conversation here about resurrection on Easter usually refers to the amazing wonder of the resurrection of the plants from their underworld slumber and the resurrection of the literal S-U-N, sun. But today, I want to talk about resurrection, specifically the resurrection of people. A few people in particular, and then the possibility of all of us in general. So settle in. Let me dance on the edge of time as I tell you 3 stories. So let's begin a little lighthearted, shall we? This first story is from our own faith. It may or may not have really happened, but here's how I heard it. This story took place in a Universalist church some 60 years ago. It was Easter Sunday. Now, the choir in this church processed each Sunday morning at the start of the service right down the center aisle, singing and walking. Now, this was one of those old church buildings that had the grates in the floors where the heat comes up. Keep that in mind. Because on this particularly beautiful Easter Sunday, as the choir processed down the center aisle singing "Christ has risen," dear choir member Rose, dressed just like many of you in her Sunday best, got her heel stuck in one of those grates. Now, I know you were worried, but fear not. For being the dedicated chorister that she was, she did not let that event affect her one bit, but without missing a note, she simply stepped out of the shoe and kept on going. Now, as this was a choir with a professional leader, much like our own, who had taught them that the show must go on without missing a beat, Chester, the man walking directly behind Rose, simply bent down to retrieve the shoe. Fine fellow he was. Unfortunately, Chester inadvertently brought the whole grade up along with it. But yet, not missing a hallelujah, Chester continued on processing with shoe and grate in hand. But then, the man behind Chester, poor Mr. Sanders, he took a step forward without looking down, and you guessed it, he fell right down into the open register, instantly dropping out of sight. The choir continued to sing as it made its way to their seats on the dais. And as they sang, "Hallelujah, Christ has risen," the congregation was startled by Mr. Sanders' shout of, "You better all be out of the way because I'm coming up." At that moment, in some sort of universalist miracle, Mr. Sanders rose from the crawl space, from the netherworld world of the tomb, and as the choir sang their final note, the congregation cheered, and old Mr. Sanders was with them once again. The resurrection was indeed confirmed that year. I said it may or may not have happened. Well, we may not have heating grates here at Emerson, but I am going to venture a guess that we have all been Mr. Sanders at one time or another. Most of us have had the experience of going along in life, doing what we thought we were supposed to be doing, hitting all the right notes, and then plop, down we go. Something unexpected pulls the ground from under us. Some hurt, a sorrow, depression, grief, death, political policies and unjust laws, a lost job or lost relationship. Something takes us, and it takes our hope and our outlook on life. It takes our innocence about the world, and we find ourselves in the dark netherworld of our lives. They say this is the place where religion is born. Franciscan theologian and priest Richard Rohr tells us that all healthy religion shows you what to do with your pain. And indeed, it is in those hardest times of pain when we most need some support to rise up again, some hope and inspiration that our joy and our will to live will be reborn. Royer adds that it is no surprise that a crucified man became the central symbol of Christianity. Now, we may not all agree with all that is professed in the Christian faith about the resurrection of Christ. However, I think the idea of the possibility of a rebirth after suffering is very attractive. In fact, I think we all kind of need to know that it's possible in our own lives. So let me tell you and abbreviate it, a little bit of UU-influenced version of this story next. It may not or may not have happened exactly as written, but I'm going to invite you to listen to it this morning, though you've heard it many times. Listen to it not as a literal news report from 2,000 years ago, but as a metaphor that attempts to tap into the very human desire to be free of suffering and to overcome the separation we face in death. In this story, there's a rabbi named Jesus. He's from Nazareth. This rabbi has been going around preaching about love and justice and compassion. This teacher said that the rituals and rules of his faith were not the most important parts. He said that the vital part was love. That love was the center of the faith, love of God and love for one's neighbors, all neighbors. This story tells of miracles brought forth because of this love, and it tells of healing and kindness. But in those days, much like our own, those in power did not appreciate this message of inclusivity. And the rising influence of this prophet was seen as a threat to the establishment. And so they set about to plan his demise. Jesus seemed to know what was coming, so he gathered his closest followers to share the Passover meal with him. The rabbi blessed the bread and the wine and gave thanks to God for what they were given, and he advised his followers to see bread from the earth and wine as interconnected to his own spirit. He reassured them that when he was no longer in his physical form, that they could commune with him through these natural elements, that he would be part of them in this way. And he instructed them to continue to remember him and to live the values that he had taught. And indeed, the next morning, he was betrayed by one of his followers, and soldiers found Jesus and arrested him. In those days, the worst criminals were punished by being nailed to the wooden cross and left to die, and Jesus was punished in this way as well. His cross was side by side with others. As Jesus suffered on the cross, he was not alone. It is said that his mother Mary and his friends gathered by his side. I imagine this was a day of immense suffering for all those on those crosses. And I shudder to think of the spectators who came to witness the suffering of some of them as some sort of entertainment, hurling insults at this teacher. It is said that at one point, despite his faith in his connection to a higher power, that Jesus himself cried out in despair, oh God, why have you forsaken me?" After Jesus died on the cross, his body was taken to lay in a tomb, a heavy rock sealing its opening. A few days later, some of his followers went to care for his body, as was the custom, but when they got to the tomb, The heavy rock had already been rolled away. Curious, they entered, but the body of their teacher was gone. And then the miracle. It is said that Jesus made his appearance to his broken-hearted followers on several occasions after this event, reassuring them that he was still with them. He had suffered on the cross, but was now free of that suffering. He had been redeemed by the grace of God, or in my translation, by the power of love that is the very essence of life itself. In the story, Jesus comes to his followers to tell them that they too have access to that love, that they too could be resurrected by that force of grace. Now, most translations of the Christian Bible may not say it exactly as I just did, but I think at the heart of this story is the resurrecting power of love. Which brings us to the third story I want to share this morning. The last story of resurrection I want to share requires no belief in spiritual things, only a belief in the power of each human life. Now, this story is 100% true, and it's a story you have certainly heard before. But I decided to tell it today because it is a profound example of modern-day resurrection and the power of love. And it is the story that kept coming to my mind as I thought of the idea of resurrection. This story begins in 1955 when a 14-year-old black boy named Emmett Till decided to travel to visit his uncle, Mose Wright, in Money, Mississippi. Till was from Chicago and wanted to see for himself what life was like for his uncle. Money was a small town that consisted of 3 stores, a school, a post office, a cotton gin, and a few hundred residents. Before Emmett departed for the Delta, his mother cautioned him that Chicago and Mississippi were 2 different worlds, and he should know how to behave in front of whites in the South. He assured her he understood. A few days after his arrival, Till and several young relatives and neighbors were driven by his cousin to Bryant's grocery and meat market to buy candy. Till's companions were children of sharecroppers and had been picking cotton all day. The market mostly served the local sharecroppers and was owned by a white couple, 24-year-old Roy and 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant. That day, Carolyn was alone in the front of the store, her sister-in-law in the rear watching children, and a number of other local youths were outside the store. Now, the facts of what took place in the store are still disputed, but what we do know is that Emmett went inside the store and had some sort of interaction with the store clerk. Some say Emmett whistled at the clerk. His mother would later share that he often used a whistle to help him through his stuttering. Whatever happened inside the store shifted what happened next as Till's Mississippi relatives quickly realized they should leave. Hours later, in the early morning hours of August 28th, sometime between 2 and 3:30 a.m., 2 men drove to Mose Wright's house armed with a pistol and a flashlight. They demanded to see the boy who had spoken to the store clerk. Till's great aunt offered them money, but the men refused. Mose Wright informed the men that Till was from the north and did not know any better. Unmoved, the men grabbed Till and marched him out to the truck. They tied him up in the back of the green pickup truck and drove off. Now, I'm not going to describe what happened next. His cross was not on display. His loved ones were not able to be by his side during his darkest hour. When Emmett's body was found, local officials moved quickly to try to have it buried. But this is where Emmett Till's resurrection story begins. Emmett's mother, Mamie Till Bradley, demanded that the body be sent to Chicago, where she insisted on viewing it to make a positive identification. When she pushed her son's tomb rock aside, what she saw was gut-wrenching, to say the least. And then Emmett's mother did something that would change the world. Mamie Till Bradley, wanted the world to see what hate had done. So she decided to have an open casket funeral. She said there was no way I could describe what was in that box. No way. And I just wanted the world to see. And tens of thousands of people lined the street outside the mortuary to view Till's body, and days later, thousands more attended the funeral. And after that, millions would see the photographs of her mutilated son. Though the all-male jury acquitted both defendants, the power of Emmett's death and Mamie's decision ignited the flame of the civil rights movement. Together, they exposed the buried truth of racial hate, and most likely, in doing so, saved thousands of others' lives. A bright light who believed in the goodness of people and in joy was persecuted, betrayed, lynched. A loving parent whose love resurrects their child's spirit and sets it free with the hope to heal the sins of mankind. It is a story that is repeated again and again. Each time I have heard the story of Emmett Till, I am both mortified at the depth of hate in this world and inspired by the power of love to counter it. And again, I quote Richard Rohr. He says, "All suffering is potentially redemptive. All wounds are potentially sacred wounds. It depends on what you do with them." The idea that we can be reborn from the tombs of our suffering, the possibility that our lives can make a difference in another's pain, the hope that by sharing our raw and vulnerable life with others, that it can help turn the world to compassion and justice. That is my case for resurrection. That's my case for why I think even we Unitarian Universalists, we need stories of resurrection. The Christ taught us to love, to know that we are loved by a force greater than death, a force able to roll away the boulders of our dark caves that bury us. He taught that when we believe in that love, we too will be resurrected into everlasting life. Mamie and Emmett Till taught us that our lives and our deaths mean something, that we must use them to face the realities of our day, uncovered and fully exposed. They taught us that it's not enough to simply believe in love, but that we must act on love. And it is by our actions that love can raise a force greater than hate and greater than death. And today, the Universalist choir in our story taught us that no matter what, we should keep on singing because we are coming up. We need resurrection. And we need as many stories of resurrection as we can get until we believe at the very core of our being that we too will always be found, no matter how lost we may become. We too will always be found, no matter how lost we become. My friends, let us rise in body or spirit and share beautiful hymn number 205, Amazing Grace.
Saved us,
These words, closing words, are from Unitarian Universalist minister Dick Gilbert. A tomb is no place to stay. Be it a cave in the Judean hills or the dark cave of the spirit, a tomb is no place to stay. When the fresh grass rolls away the stone of winter cold, and valiant flowers burst their way to warmth and light, the tomb is no place to stay. When each morning announces our reprieve and we know we are granted yet another day of living, a tomb is no place to stay. When life laughs a welcome to hearts that have been away too long, a tomb is no place to stay. Blessed be, my friends. I invite you to come out of your tombs that have captured your heart and your souls. Allow others to help roll away what blocks you from coming out. We have each other, and that is a blessing. And that, my friends, is a resurrection of spirit that we experience each Sunday here in our congregation. I think we have a few announcements before we officially close. Mark or Leslie?
Hi, I'm Leslie McLean, and I'm here speaking as a member of the Leadership Development Team. We are looking for Emerson members to serve on three committees that need members. And in your order of service, you may have seen, there is a little piece talking about open positions. Conflict resolution, these would be beginning July 1st. Conflict resolution needs 2 members to agree to a 3-year rotation and join the one person who still has 2 years. The Endowment Committee needs 2 members to agree to a 3-year rotation and also join one person who still has 1 year. And the Leadership Development Team needs 2 members to agree to a 2-year rotation, joining the 2 of us who are currently in the middle of our 2 years, Colleen Radbill and myself. See the order of service for a description of what each committee does and instructions on how to put your name in the hat. If you have any questions, please see Colleen, Ginger White, or me, or as indicated in the order of service, call or email Ginger. Thank you in advance.
My name is Mark Horn, and I'm a member of this year's Stewardship Committee. And as we're approaching the end of our All-In Stewardship campaign, I am here to share with you the good news. This year, all of us together have achieved the highest level of financial commitment to Emerson ever. So, as of today, we have pledged commitments of almost $263,000 from 86 pledging family units. So that's a single or a couple. So thanks to these commitments, we now feel confident that we will be able to responsibly hire a new RE director and elevate our staff to a fair level of compensation as defined by the UUA. These are not small accomplishments. But we're not quite done yet. To meet our goals to the fullest level, we're still hoping a few of us who have not pledged yet will be able to do so right away. Our goal is 100% participation of all members and friends, and that's important to us, and it is close at hand. We are indeed all in. And you'll notice our tree right here is almost, it's like the spring buds, and it's like we're almost up to the top. So if you haven't pledged yet, we still have a place for you on our Pledging All-In Generations of Giving tree. We think we have everybody's name on the tree, And we have many pins, these little lapel pins right here, to give out. And if you have pledged and you haven't yet received a lapel pin, or if you can't find your name on the tree, please see me afterwards. We will take care of that. Wear your pins lovingly. And speaking on behalf of the Stewardship Committee and the board, we are grateful for everyone who has helped make this campaign a success. We are filled with gratitude.
You do the honors.
We hope you've been nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. If you'd like more information about Unitarian Universalism or about Emerson, please stop by the welcome table at the front entry. Please plan to join us next week. I'm excited about this one for a very special service with Reverend Deborah, a council of all beings. Come ready to give voice to and to listen to all those in the animal and plant world with whom we share this sacred planet Earth. As our chalice is extinguished this morning, please join in the final words. They're posted in the chat and in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Please join us in the fellowship hall for our special muffin fellowship. It's on the first floor right in the back, and be sure to go out that way because Millie won't like it if you don't. Young folks, all of y'all are invited. The senior youth are inviting you outside to an Easter egg hunt. I have it on good authority that the Easter Bunny is going to show up. And if your basket was full at home and you forgot to bring one, there's extra Easter egg baskets outside for you. There's no other RE or ARE activities today, but those of you who are online, please stay tuned and you'll be able to go to virtual breakout rooms for fellowship time. Our service is concluded, but our connection has only begun.
Go now in peace, and take peace wherever you go.
Well, when Deborah came in as